Hello, all of my lovely artists. This is your friendly neighborhood art teacher, Miss Asbury, and today we're going to be talking about a very special art form called architecture. This is a kind of occupation, a kind of job that a person can choose to go into that allows them to be artistic, it allows them to be creative, but it's also something that relates to our world because people have needed architecture ever since they've needed houses, ever since they've needed hospitals, ever since they've needed courtrooms. Any kind of building, you need an architect to design it. Like if you've ever seen blueprints that construction workers use before they build a house, those were made by an architect. It's basically them drawing what the outside and inside of a place will look like. People all over the world have different unique forms of architecture that sets them apart. And today we're going to be talking about architecture in India, a very specific famous building called the Taj Mahal, and here's how you spell it. Now, the Taj Mahal, people like to think is a palace in India, when actually it is a tomb. But before I get too ahead of myself, let's go ahead and talk about our drawing itself. The first thing you're going to want to do is put your paper in the landscape orientation, that's long ways, and we're going to start by drawing a horizon line. Remember, a horizon line is just a horizontal line, a straight across line, from one edge of the paper to the other edge to separate our sky from our ground. I wouldn't cut your paper completely in half. I would go down just a tad because our building's going to be a little tall. Now on the upper half of our horizon line, we're going to start by drawing the main part of our building, which is a rectangle. So I'm going to draw my rectangle and have the top of it only barely above halfway on my paper. The reason I'm going to do that is because we're going to have something big up here. But before we get to that, we've got our main structure, and to each side we're just going to do smaller, skinnier rectangles connecting to it. Just like that. So far we're starting pretty simple. This could be any old house. But in India, some of their most famous, most recognizable sculptures, buildings have these really big domes, and they almost kind of look like onions. So it looks like you're going to be starting with a half circle, but it's got a bit of a point to it. So kind of like an onion. And I'm going to put a little smiley face line. So that is the dome to our Taj Mahal. And then both of these rectangles, they're going to have their own little hat too. So how we're going to start that is we're going to put an even smaller rectangle on top of each one, and then we're going to put another tinier onion dome on top. So already we don't see any buildings like this in America, but this is something that you would see and would want to see if you ever traveled to India. Now the other thing about the Taj Mahal that's very important is their windows were more like half circles, and they have this huge door right smack dab in the middle like this. So go ahead and do that. You could even put a smaller door on the inside, kind of looks like a chunky rainbow. And I'm gonna do, I guess it's kind of like a half oval more than a half circle because they're kind of longer than a circle. So there are our windows, and we have the same ones on our two rectangles on the side of our building. Now I know this might be kind of overwhelming at first, but just remember our element of art, shape. When you break stuff that's complicated like this into simple shapes, it makes it a lot easier for you to take it step by step and not get stressed out. Because we're already almost done with the main structure. The only thing left is to do just a couple more rounded windows on these tiny little V's. It almost looks like one big robot face and then two tinier robots next to it. But anyway, this is our main structure. Now the other important thing about Indian architecture is called the minaret, and it's spelled like this. Now, the minaret sounds really fancy, but it's actually really simple. A minaret is just a really skinny, tall tower. I like to think of it as Rapunzel's tower when I'm drawing. Just try to get as straight of a line as you can. And we're gonna start with 2. The Taj Mahal has 4 minarets. So you're gonna start with 2 really skinny rectangles almost to the edge of your paper. Make them as close to the same size as you can. And leave some room between your rectangle and your main building. And of course, on top of that, what do you think we're gonna have? We're gonna have our little onion domes. So I'm gonna put 2 more, my half circle with a point, just like that. They also have little lines like this. And if I'm ever going too fast, guys, please do not hesitate to pause and catch up and just replay when you are ready to move on. Now, I said that there are 4 minarets in the Taj Mahal, which means we need to have 2 more. Simple math, sorry about that. Now, these ones are right alongside the main building. The other 2 are actually farther back. So how are we going to show that? In our drawing, we're gonna start in between one of our minarets and the main building, and we're gonna draw another one. But the difference is these next 2 minarets need to be shorter. And I really should have made that one a bit skinnier. Now, is this because the minaret is actually shorter? No, it's because it's further back in our background. So we're doing this to show that these 2 are farther away from our others. Now, the last thing that I think we're gonna do for the main structure is there's a huge body of water, kind of like a man-made lake in front of the Taj Mahal. And the easiest way for us to do that is just to go out and do 2 diagonal lines. Going out like this. When you're showing a path or something coming towards you, you never do 2 straight vertical lines, because as it comes towards us, it gets bigger. That's why I chose to do diagonal lines. That is it for our main structure. That is our Taj Mahal. Now, of course, you can always add details. You could add a sun in the sky. I might go ahead and add some clouds. But another important thing about Indian architecture is that their buildings are usually very colorful. The Taj Mahal, however, stays pretty classic and white. So if you want to color this however you want, you're more than welcome to. Just remember that we are talking about Indian architecture, and we're talking about the Taj Mahal. So a little bit more history. I said earlier that people would always believe that this was a palace, because it looks grand and huge and regal. That makes sense. But really what happened was this ruler in India, he built this as a tomb for his wife. So this is actually kind of like a grave for somebody. And let me see here. Let me make sure I'm telling you right. It's considered one of the 7 wonders of the world in the modern era, so if you ever have a chance to go to India, like I hope to someday, then you definitely need to go see the Taj Mahal. It was built in 1653. But alright, so the basic facts I want you guys to remember with our beautiful Taj Mahal is that this is an example of Indian architecture, and the biggest parts of it that I want you to remember are the onion-like domes on top and the skinny buildings called minarets. So let me zoom in here. That's how you spell minaret. But do not forget, once you guys have finished drawing your own Taj Mahal, I want to see you submit a picture of it onto Schoology. At this point, we will be on week 18 of our folder, so there should be a Dropbox that says Taj Mahal Dropbox for you to snap a pic and send it to me, because I cannot wait to see how you do with this. But that's it for me. I will see you guys next time. Bye.